need give me 1 minute. Hello, guys. Hello. Now, listen. If you want to have a discussion, Please, okay, guys, please, we're having a discussion and you will have your chance. If you want a chance to speak, you have to be able to listen to people you don't agree with.
These guys are criminals and murderers. Why take part in this farce? This is a farce!
Goodbye.
You know it. You know it. This is a farce. These guys are killing great girls. You guys want to give them an audience? Human life. This is criminal. This is a game. Shit.
Established by President Kabila from...
Okay, the time is up, and we're going to open it up. Please have a seat.
No, we gave you full time.
I'm really sorry. I love to say.
Well, that's okay. Yes,
We're giving you the full time. Thank you.
Report that these guys are criminals and murderers. Why take part in this farce? This is a farce.
Goodbye.
And you know it. Ambassador, you know it.
To begin by acknowledging my colleague, Congressman Mark Vesey, of the 33rd District from Texas. He is also the co-chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foreign Policy and National Security Task Force. It's the CBC Task Force that is putting on this briefing today. And I want to welcome also all of the representatives of the Diplomatic Corps who are here with us today. And I especially want to thank our panelists for taking the time to be here so that we could have this important conversation. And as you will hear in a minute, some of our panelists traveled very, very far to be here, which I think just emphasizes the urgency of the topic. Over the past few months, my staff or I have met with countless people who wanted to report on the situation in the DRC and to ask, what is Congress doing? I've met with opposition members and members of the government. My staff have met with members of the EU Diplomatic Corps, and I raised the situation in the DRC just a few weeks ago when I was at the UN and met with Ambassador Nikki Haley. We have been briefed by the State Department, USAID. We held a hearing toward the end of last year, and just last week there was a hearing focused on democratic backsliding and the crackdown on civil liberties in the African Subcommittee, and the DRC was a country that we were all concerned about. I say all of this to let everyone know that my colleagues and I in Congress remain focused on Africa. Secondly, to let all of you know that the crisis in DRC is a high priority here on the Hill. I will tell you that I cannot speak for the administration. I can speak for the members, my colleagues in the House of Representatives and the Senate, to know that we are still very, very concerned about the continent, and maybe there's some encouragement since there is a new Secretary of State. Maybe things will be a little better. There is also a resolution that we have worked on in regarding the DRC. So the sad truth is that the DRC is potentially one of the richest countries on earth. We all know that it has abundant mineral resources, enormous potential to generate hydroelectric power, and great agricultural potential. Unfortunately, on the other side of that is the great potential, is the stark reality of living in the DRC today. We know that the DRC is among the poorest countries in the world, ranking 176 out of 187 on the latest UN Human Development Index. More than half of the country lives in extreme poverty. The potential of the country is where I hope one day we can focus. Unfortunately, that's not the focus for today's meeting, but I am confident that one day soon we will be able to spend our time focusing on all of the potential of such a great country.
And now turn to the next person. So let me start by introducing our panel, and then we'll get this show on the road. First on our list is Kambale Musevuli. He's spokesperson for Friends of the Congo. Kambale is a native of DRC and one of the leading political and cultural Congolese voices. He's a social entrepreneur and an international human rights advocate. He serves as the national spokesperson for Friends of the Congo, a group that raises global consciousness about the situation in the Congo and provides support to local institutions in the Congo. His professional activities, publications, and public engagement reflect his unflagging commitment to realizing peace and justice in the Congo. Second, Sylvain Saluseki. Sylvain is a member and part of the leadership of Lucha, a Congolese youth and social movement. He is a prominent Congolese youth and social, Lucha is a prominent Congolese youth and social movement organization that uses nonviolent engagement to promote good governance in the Congo. And it is a truly independent constitutional organization and promotes constitutional and democratic and prosperity in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Sylvain holds an MBA in finance. He's a managing director of GAN, a Congolese medical risk management company, which is part of EOH, a JSE registered company. I don't know what all those acronyms mean, but if anybody wants to know, you can ask him. And then finally, Mike Jobbins. Mike currently serves as the Africa Program Director for the DC Office of Search for Common Ground, where he supports the management, design, and development of conflict resolution programming in 15 countries across Africa. He previously worked in Search for Common Ground's field office in DRC and Burundi, where he supported the startup and management of projects on SGBV, prevention, refugee reintegration, security sector reform, and post-war governance. Mike led missions in humanitarian and emergency settings and open searches first office in North Katanga, North Kivu, Equator province of the DRC. And I will add that Mike is, has an MA in conflict resolution from Georgetown University, and he holds a BA in government from Harvard. So with no further ado, let me turn to our first panelist, and that will be Kamali.
For policy prescription, I think it's important that we don't have prescription as episodic, meaning that today we have a crisis and then say we are going to resolve the crisis by waiting for an election in December. That is a symptomatic solution to the crisis that the Congolese face. The Congolese people have been very clear about what they want. There was a poll done in the DRC. The Congolese population has called for a transition in the DRC without Kabila being in power. Why is that important? It is important because the fact that Joseph Kabila has stayed beyond his mandate, he was supposed to be out of power in 2016, he violated the constitution, and he has created a situation where there is no rule of law. So if the head of state does not abide by that, anyone else within the country will not follow the rule as well. So that will be one to think about how to put pressure on the current regime, specifically for Joseph Kabila to step down and allow a transition without him, and of course the civil society and the community can organize that.
Your time has expired.
Okay.
And I know you have so much more to say, and hopefully we can get into a deeper discussion during the Q&A.
2016, already from a Lucha point of view, we were advocating that we feel and think that both the regime and President Kabila do not have not the willingness, not the will of seeing elections happening. And since then, we've been advocating that we need to have a transition so we can have good elections. However, let me just point to something quickly that can show why that's still relevant today. We have a chaos happening in Kasai, in Ituri. Lubumbashi also is burning now. I don't know if you guys have been following about that. Seni came up with the list, and then they had to go through clearing their list. More than 15% of that had to be removed. Who knows if that particular list is actually credible enough? The civic space, which still continues to be close. I remember when President Kabila went to Angola, everybody was asking a question to say, but you see, they've allowed UDPS to have a rally. The following day, more than 20 people in Lucha arrested in Goma, and then the following few days, in another branch of UDPS being refused to have any rally in another part of the country.
As we talk about the political situation in the country, I wanted to focus on three sort of contextual points in terms of what political crisis looks like right now in the DRC, and what the conflict and humanitarian situation is. 2 weeks ago in Kasholi village in Tanganyika, 9 women were raped by 30 Twa ethnic pygmy militiamen in the middle of the night. The rape kits ran out at the local health system. They received no medical care. And they are still unclear what kind of assistance they'll receive. That is the result of about 2 years of escalating tensions between Bantu and Pygmy in Tanganyika province, linked to a great awakening of Pygmy who had been frustrated by the long time sort of marginalization of their community in that region.
I'd like to call on the DRC representative, Ambassador Kikaya, to respond. And again, 5 minutes, Ambassador. Oh, sorry. Why don't you?
He's going to bring the mic.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this panel for the opportunity to address this audience. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, the apocalyptic prophecies that we hear about the DRC have lasted for the past 20 years, presenting the Congo as a country in shambles, undermined by crisis and economically destroyed. A rhetoric often based on rumors and not on concrete facts. The fact of the matter is that the people of the Congo have proven even renowned academics wrong. For some, there is no Congo. You've seen books here published with that title. For others, the only way to solve Congo's problems is to let it fall apart. That doesn't happen. Young Congolese of the diaspora go from one forum to another, spend time on social media, but nothing about their own country. Are nothing but prophets of doom and gloom. The question is, who benefits from the Congo bashing exercise? You and
Hello, guys. Hello. Now, listen. If you want to have a discussion, look. Hey, please, okay, guys, please, we're having a discussion and you will have your chance. If you want a chance to speak, you have to be able to listen to people you don't agree with.
The last thing I would like to do, the last thing I would like to do would be to have to ask you to leave, okay? That's the last thing I would have to do. But if you continue, I will ask you to leave.
These guys are murderers. Okay. These are guys who murdered the
Okay, do you want to have an opportunity to speak?
Because this is the game, man. This is a game.
Okay.
This is the game. And the U.S. government supports it. These guys are criminals and murderers. Why take part in this farce? This is a farce.
Goodbye.
You know it. You know it. This is a farce. These guys kill and rape girls. You guys want to give them an audience? Human life. This is criminal. This is a game. This is a game. Yeah.
I hope the person counting the minutes will give me back my minutes. The truth is that the the Congo, a country of 2,345,409 square kilometers, which was divided into 3 parts following the war, is now reunited by President Joseph Kabila.
Oh my God!
If we can be here, if we can be here this morning talking about the Congo, it's because it has been, the president has been able to put the country to democracy. Challenges do exist. I'm not denying that. In particular, some security hotspots and tensions in certain corners of the country, due to the activism of local and foreign groups that are resistant to the peace process or terrorists. But in the DRC, there is currently no territory, and I repeat, no territory controlled administratively by a armed group, proving that state authority is slowly but surely being restored throughout the country. The truth is that the DRC has a growing economy, and the figures published by the World Bank and the IMF in this city, in Washington, D.C., can attest to that. Go and check. Congo has the highest growth rate in the region, and that is a fact. Although our economy, based on extractive industries, is experiencing ups and downs, it remains true that the mining and infrastructure sectors are growing and expanding. The national currency is stable. The business climate is improving substantially due to the stability of the macroeconomic setup established by President Kabila from...
Okay, the time is up, and we're going to open it up. Please have a seat.
No, we gave you full time.
I'm really sorry. I love to say.
Well, that's okay. Yes,
We did give you full time. So thank you.
You are the ones that can fight and stand for justice and democracy as you stand with those of us who believe in listening to all and going forward on the best pathway forward. And I hope that it will be not only from the government's input, because as you well know, that input is there, but for the input of each and every one of you.
A lot about different military interventions and what we can do to try to improve the situation in sub-Saharan Africa. But we have got to be serious about helping friends over there that really want to do something about the governance issue.
So we are going to open up for questions, and I encourage you not to give speeches. This is an extraordinarily emotional issue for others, and our friend there in the orange shirt, no speech. You already had your speech, but I'm looking forward to hearing questions from all of you, and then so I'll take 10.
My name is Jay Babu, originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, native. So my question, will revolve clearly, when you hear, stuff like, the person that's standing, saying, Mr. Kabila saying that for him to step down the power, he got to get a bullet on his head. He said he got to have a bullet on his head. So why are we spending all this time and being more diplomatic, trying to talk about elections, which already is a whole big joke, with all the machines that they went to get in South Korea, cheating machine. Mom, I'm a programmer. I know about microprocessor, microcontroller, and all program. It's already a big scam there that they're talking about. So before you even talk about election, it's what we're gonna do about that crazy guy that is there. It's a repeat of Hitler that's happening in DRC, and nobody's talking about it. That's not the Holocaust. 8 million so far. Women's rape, little children, young people being murdered on the street, murdered by the people that are supposed to be police. They're getting murdered. So what are the resolutions we're gonna do about that guy? They say to step down, he gotta get the bullet on his head.
Okay. Next.
My name is Valère Mangitukam. My question comes from the Congolese community of United States. We are estimated to over 100,000 of Congolese in the US. so we have the power to vote for any politicians. The question is, last year, Ambassador Nikki went to Congo. We wrote to her, we told her that Kabila will not organize the true elections, and Miss Nikki said, oh, we're gonna do it. He's gonna do it in December 23rd. Our question is, what the US government will do if Kabila organize or will not organize the election in December 2018, what the US will do.
Thank you.
My name is Gustavo Nvelva. I'm president of the Committee for Free and Democratic Equatorial Guinea. So I'm an Equatorial Guinean. My question is, the dictators in Africa represent the worst that Africa has to offer. The US, I believe, has been complicit. I'm asking now, in this 11th hour, where men, women, and children are being raped, where multinationals don't care about human rights, as we see from this current administration, what can we as a diaspora do in terms of forming strategic partnerships with the Bureau of African Affairs, which has been feeble in its dealings with Africa? And I've been doing this since 1991 when Ambassador Perry was there. They're complicit, and all this, the same people, different scenarios. We're tired. The 21st century Africa youth understand that as we get ready to move forward, we have to look to Europe, because the United States does not care, and this is based upon 30 years of experience. What can be done to bring about sustainable change with partners from the diaspora without all the lip service and the games?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Ambassador Congress carrying us. We've been here forever, today, tomorrow, and forever, talking about Africa, conflict, immigrants, and everything in Africa. When you go to Africa, when somebody is dead, the people are eating, others are crying, others say we have not eaten food. This is what we are dealing here with now. We have 700 displaced people in the Congo, children, women, now we have Ebola. So, looking at the past, the ambassadors, I've heard from the ambassadors of Lake regions, Prince Cole, and others, even Ambassador, you've been there. So what are we doing now to the displaced people where the government doesn't want, we hear that the government does not want aid or anything. The children suffering, now we have Ebola. What is going to be done? Election, if Kabila wants to rule forever, give him opportunity, he can be life president so long as people are in peace. We held a conference here on Capitol Hill in 2009 on conflict. So, Madam Congresswoman Karen, but from here, you need to get on the plane and go to Congo and solve this situation. Now, I'm going.
Giovanna Martin, and I live in Kisangani. I have an NGO in Kisangani called the Idly Project. What we do is we give women free breast and cervical exams, and we have an epidemic of cancer, female reproductive cancers that are killing the women of the Congo. My question to you is, what can be done for health care for these women who every day I see and I must tell them, I'm sorry, I cannot help you, I have no chemotherapy, your cancer is advanced, go home and die. I need help and I need answers, and what I'm trying to do is work within what is happening in the country and with the government, because the women to me are the most important thing. They are the unit of the family, and I'm looking for answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jean-Michel Mundela. My question is to the representative of Kabila here. I would like to know the unemployment rate in the Congo.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
My question is, what is the unemployment rate in the Congo? How many jobs have you created since you took over control of the country? What is your budget? how much is being allocated to education, health? And the other question is to the US government representative. I would like to know how long it will take for you to say enough is enough. How many hearings do you need for you to understand that black people are dying in the Congo?
Yes.
How many hearings are you going to go to bring us together here again for you to say, okay, enough is enough? Thank you.
Congressmember Bass, we had an opportunity during the 80 years of President Obama, and now we are where we are. With this new administration, what is your leverage to get this administration to say enough is enough, time to leave? And Kambale and Sylvain, could you touch a little bit on the mineral companies, Compagnie Minière au Congo, and the role right now in the Congo? Thank you.
Good morning, Wilhelmine Kahindo, speaking for the Congolese community of the U.S. You spoke about needing a transition without Kabila. My question is, what can the diaspora do to have the U.S. and the Western civilization support a transition without Kabila, which is the voice of their population, shown with their votes when they voted in November and December for Cardinal Mosengo to lead the transition without Kabila? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kafuti Talaumbu. I am originally from the Congo as well. My question is more about the leadership. Why there is a lack of leadership among African American women and men that serve at Congress in terms of the crises that are happening in the Congo and across Africa? We see many of you on TV, but you don't seem to be care or to talk about the crises that are happening there in Africa or in the Congo. Perhaps by speaking more about this, we get the American knowledge about the crisis, and perhaps more voting will be willing to take initiative about the issue.
Thank you very much. And then the last question. The last question, please.
Thank you. My name is Jacques Musagasha from the Christian Coalition for Justice and Peace in Congo. In the 90s, it took a missionary, an African American missionary by the name of William Shepherd, to stand up against what King Leopold was doing in Congo after he had murdered 10 million people. And he really worked hard to bring King Leopold to the court. Now, it's my belief and my hope that the Black Caucus will also stand up against what is being done in Congo. Kabila has murdered already more than 13 million people. Some say 8, some say 7, but we Congolese, we say 12, 13. Now, my question is this. In 2000, I don't remember the year, but an American president told Charles Taylor stand up to quit, to step down because of what he was doing in his country. Is it a possibility that the US president today can ask Kabila to step down and let us have the transition? Thank you.
We have been joined by Congressman Gregory Meeks from the great state of New York, and you should know that he is the highest ranking African American on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And before I bring him up, let me just respond to that gentleman that just asked the question. You should know that the Congressional Black Caucus, all 48 members, are definitely united behind focusing on Africa and understanding the significance of it. Now, you mentioned seeing us on TV. Can I tell you how many times we have tried to talk about Africa? When they get you on TV, you do not have an option to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I would just encourage all of you to send emails or tweet to people like Fareed Zakaria, because I think this last week he mentioned something on Africa, but almost never covers it. So everybody can participate on raising the issue of Africa in the media. And then the other gentleman that asked what kind of leverage do we have with this administration, Hey, I don't know what kind of leverage anybody has with this administration, okay? That's one answer. But let me just tell you that if and when Congress is united and sends legislation to the president, I do believe that he would sign it. I mean, one of the things that is challenging for the world with this administration is that we don't know where ideologically they stand, because it can change from moment to moment. It might have even changed from the time we've been sitting in this room. Congressman Greg News.
The call from the Congolese people for a transition without Kabila is critical. And the main reason is because if we continue to allow the constitution of the Congo to be violated, it will be very tough to have rule of law in the Congo. And we need to start that precedent and have a peaceful transition of power. The second one will be specifically for your trip. I'm actually glad to hear that there is a trip to the SADC region. Engaging regional players, SADC nations, specifically Botswana. Botswana has been very vocal on the DRC, and the current president, Masisi, and the former president has been clear in putting pressure on the Kabila government. Actually, Masisi said that Kabila should step down. The third one will be the law that former senator and former president of the Congo, of the United States, actually, Obama wrote, Public Law 109456. That law was passed in 2006, signed into law by Bush at the time. There, section 102, 105, and 106 of that bill, of that law actually, supports democracy, but also doesn't look at the crisis in the Congo from the Congo perspective. You look at it from the regional perspective, because we can't only speak about election in DRC. We have to also look at what's happening in Rwanda. We have to look at what's happening in Uganda and others. So using that Public Law 109456 as a framework for policy prescriptions for DRC will be important.